There we go. We're streaming. All right. Welcome back to the
Doing
Talking Average Fitness podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Burns. As always, I'm joined by my buddy and dad bod fitness, Mr. Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
doing wonderful, Sam. Just finished some dad bod fitness before
Did you?
hopping on this. I did, yeah,
There you go.
I did.
Nice.
A whole bunch of okay. Um, no, I'm doing good. Doing good. Nothing super wild. We got Avery's at daycare for the day. I hop onto an ambulance at noon. Um, Sam is slowly recovering from the plague.
Well, you know, whatever iteration of the plague my kids have right now,
Yeah, uh,
and
it's
obviously relearning how to use my mouth. So,
yeah. That came out of like under your cap of your water bottle, I think. That
yeah,
didn't leak out of your
probably.
mouth.
Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence.
I say we'll say that.
Yeah,
It's the water bottle's fault.
100%. Oh dear. So we
Oh,
we tried to do this yesterday, and we
we did.
we had to we had to I had to call an audible. I was with my oldest because he was homesick with the thing that I caught last night,
Hmm.
and didn't end up working out. And I don't think we really had a topic that we were headed
No,
into.
we were just gonna let things rock and roll, and we left off talking about your gymnastics seminar at One Nation.
Hmm.
Um, is where we left off, but and then we had to abandon ship. But we didn't really have a topic yesterday. We were just like, let's just see where the current takes us.
So it's ironically enough that still jives with the topic that you presented to me because I had several
Yeah, kind of.
conversations with several people about certifications and CrossFit, as an
Hmm.
organization and their direction and how does it affect other people. Um, and so we ended up touching base on many things, but also the topic of today's discussion, which is the level three exam.
Hmm.
And you've got I've already re-upped mine. Have you
Hmm.
re-upped twice now?
No, this would be the second time I re-up. I re-upped
This would be the
once.
second.
This would be the second time, and so it's coming up. It's like either end of May or beginning of June is
Mm.
when my level three would need to be renewed. Um, and I have all the CEUs. I have all the CEUs to do it.
Shouldn't be hard, especially since they lowered it.
Yeah. Well, I found out actually from Kev Gates because Kev Gates and I were talking about this, and
Mm.
apparently EMT school gives you like 4 times the amount of CEUs that was required previously, like before
Yeah,
they lowered it.
yeah,
So he was like, if you just submit your EMT license, like
done. Yeah.
you're done, good to go, re-upped. Um, and I would just need then like what I don't know what they require for coaching hours anymore. Um,
I
but
think
I
it's
would need to
half. I
get
think it's 350.
over the course of 3 years.
Yeah, maybe it's 300 over the course of 3 years. I'm not sure which.
Okay. Um, because I could just like reach if I really wanted to, I could reach back out to um, Max at CrossFit Tilt and get him to sign off on my coaching hours because that would be
Mm.
where they all came from. I coached,
Right.
I think I coached a total of a whole 8 hours at CrossFit Iron Spider before it was just like, yes, it's too much.
Yeah.
Um, just because it was the thing, right? You move, you're changing careers, EMT school, retail job to try and pay some bills, new baby, all that fun stuff. And then, but just everything I knew was just coaching in a gym. So I reached out to Iron Spider guys and they had me hop in some part-time coaching. It was literally one morning a week for two
Yeah.
hours. And I think I did it for a month. So I think I did 8 hours total of coaching for those guys.
Right.
And it was just like, it was just too, like 2 hours might not seem like a whole lot, but combined with everything else,
Yeah.
it was like, it's just one extra thing that like I wasn't getting paid to do. It was essentially in exchange for a free membership at the gym.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I got enough fitness equipment at home to be incredibly stupid. So, um, like I can just do that and that saves time.
Mm.
And so it wasn't worth it at the time. And so, yeah, like I would just have to, all of those, I'm pretty sure since I re-upped my level three, I was at Tilt for like a year and a half coaching
Okay.
full time. So
Yep.
that should cover those 300 hours if I really wanted to.
It you will
It's
not have a problem.
no, I'm sure I wouldn't have a problem. The thing is like, okay, I go like I put this thing in, I re-up my level
Hmm.
3, yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. In the next 3 years, am I gonna coach at all? I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, so is
Yeah.
it even worth going through the hassle of like, let me get the forms, fill out the coaching hours, like get Max to sign off, um, you know, send all the stuff to CrossFit because I don't, because it's not like EMT school isn't like one of the like readily approved,
Yep.
like you have to basically like email them, be like, hey, I did this.
Yep.
So like it's a whole process to get that done. And so it's like, okay, I get all that done, do all that to renew my level 3, and for what? Like, am I going to coach anymore? And the thing is, like, I don't know it in the foreseeable future. I don't think so, just because everything that I'm doing now is like I'm trying to, if we're like going to be candid for a moment, like it's going to be like I'm trying to pick up more overtime shifts,
Hmm.
trying to make up for like the past couple years of moving 3 times in a span of like roughly 18 months, having a baby, getting married,
Hmm.
all those fun things.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so trying to like get ourselves back on track here. Life happened, life came at me fast. Uh,
Sure. Yeah. Yes, it did.
and so just trying to make up for that stuff, plus also just like having to pay for EMT school and working a retail job that was supposedly a full-time job, but they only scheduled me for like 23 to 25 hours per week.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Um, so just trying to like make up for all that and just kind of catch back up and get back into a half decent position financially.
Hmm.
So it's like if I'm gonna do something, if I'm gonna take my time and go do something
Hmm.
that's not like spending time with my family, it's like I'm gonna go do, rather than spend my time coaching at a gym for free,
Right.
as much as I enjoy coaching, it makes a hell of a lot more sense to go pick up some overtime shifts at the station and do that.
Yeah.
And so I honestly don't know, as much as coaching is the love of my life and I love doing it and I love developing new coaches and seeing people get better and spending time with your members and coaching classes, and it's just I don't know if in the next 3 years I'm gonna be doing any coaching to the point where it's worth, and maybe it's worth just re-upping level 3 just in case. So like if I want to coach,
Hmm.
I'm back in it. But I don't know whether or not I get all the CEUs again to re-up it at the end or have the coaching hours. At some point in the next 3 years, I'm sure medic school will probably happen. So
Sure.
that's probably worth some CEUs. But
Oh, 100%.
um, I don't know. So that just I was thinking about that today, and I was like, you know what, this could be an interesting topic to like both talk about just the level 3 and CrossFit education as a whole, as you kind of
Hmm.
like work your way up.
Hmm.
Um, but then also have it be kind of like semi-personal therapy session about
Yeah.
is it even worth it? You know?
Well, I think you present an interesting microcosm, right? So very
Mm,
obviously, you have very specific considerations for yourself, for your family, for your time, for your schedule.
hmm
Um, you are weighing pros and cons of like time spent doing this and time cost or financial reward versus something else.
hmm
And all of that is all of that is inherent to you and still doesn't even begin to address the bigger, broader question of do you give a shit about CrossFit anymore? You know? And
Are
like,
you asking me
well, no, I'm saying
or
that's a
just okay,
question.
okay,
That's a, like if
yes,
you, so we can kind of step back really quick here. So we're talking about the level 3, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
big picture.
yeah, big picture, um, within CrossFit education. So you go to a
Mm,
gym, you take a class, the person who's at the front of the class, who's calling your reps and telling you what the workout is and all that crap, that's the coach or the trainer. They have been
Hmm.
certified by CrossFit to do that thing. They have at a minimum the level 1 trainer certification. You get that by attending a weekend course. Um, it is not how to coach CrossFit. It is very much, hey, this is what CrossFit is. You have to pass an exam at the end,
Yep.
and then you go off and hopefully you intern somewhere and or are shadowing somebody and you get taught coaching from
Hmm.
someone else. Then there's a level 2. The level 2 is very much this is how you coach. It's what I would call almost exclusively technical coaching. So teaching,
Yes.
seeing, and correcting. There are 3 other attributes they talk about, the effective attributes of a trainer, which is group management, presence and attitude, and demonstration. But the
Hmm.
nuts and bolts of the course are, hey, here's our 9 foundational movements. What do you struggle in seeing your
Hmm.
athletes? What poor movement habits do you see or struggle seeing? And then here are some strategies for helping your athlete to address those effectively in a group environment, in real time, in a CrossFit class.
Hmm.
So again, an exam coming out of the end of that. And then finally, there is the level 3. So we'll touch really quickly on the whole continuum, and then we'll come back to this. So level 3 is not an assessment. It's not a seminar you go attend. It's an exam.
Hmm.
If anyone has ever studied for like a CSCS or any other, I know IT certifications use this place a lot. You go to a Pearson View Center, which is a
Hmm.
certified testing center. They can guarantee sterile, cheat-free conditions for someone to take the test.
Hmm.
You schedule a time, you go and you sit at a computer and you take an exam, multiple choice, blah, blah, blah. Um, the it's a big exam. It covers a lot of things.
Hmm.
But at the end, if you pass, then you're a certified level 3 CrossFit trainer, right? And then finally, more recently, there's as a thing that you can actually pursue, there's the level 4. That is actually an assessment. It is a real-time assessment of your ability to coach a CrossFit class to a group of people between 7 and 15 athletes according to CrossFit's standards. And you are
Hmm.
there being observed and not judged, but um,
Judged.
yeah,
Assessed.
but it's assessed. Yes,
Yeah.
you're there being observed and assessed by very experienced high-level CrossFit coaches. And
Hmm.
only if you pass muster on both of the classes that they observe do you get the distinction of being called a level 3 CrossFit coach.
Level 4.
Thank you. Pardon me. Level 4 CrossFit coach. So that's the spectrum of education that CrossFit currently
Yeah.
possesses. Both Kevin and I
They're
are.
they're 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 reworking the level 4 again. They
That's my
pulled it.
that's my understanding.
Yeah, they pulled it again and they're reworking it. And so um I know that because I was over the open.
Mhm.
Like I had just the way my work schedule worked and the way
Yep.
weekends work for us.
Yep.
It was one of those things where like for me to do the open workout it had to be on Monday because
Yep.
Avery was in daycare. I had the day off work, so like we could do that. So for 2 of the weeks, I went and popped into CrossFit One Nation
Yep.
to see Horenstein and the crew and do
Yep.
the whole thing. And we were just chatting about it. And he was the one who mentioned that they had pulled it again and they're trying to like rework some stuff and refinagle it and whatever else. And I was like, okay. I think because Denise was trying to convince him to take it or do it. Um,
Probably.
yeah. So
I
um,
maybe not him in particular, but certainly I would imagine being able to host people who would come in at One Nation.
they were already hosting. They had
Oh,
had
were they?
some come in. Yeah, they had some come in. Sam was
Good.
talking to
Glad
me.
to
He's
hear
like,
that.
well, 'cause he was like, it's not the worst thing. He's like, with the as an affiliate owner, like not the worst thing, cool thing to do, yada yada yada.
Mhm.
Um, he's like, but also like on those 2 days,
Mhm.
because it was like they'd have it for 2 days, and it was like
Yep.
multiple classes per day because they're trying to get like if you're gonna, excuse me, if you're gonna host a level 4
Yep.
at one location, they were gonna have like multiple participants come. and do
Yes.
it. It's
Yes.
not just one person and here's two put there. So it was basically like 2 full days where the like multiple classes were taken up by whatever participants.
Right.
So I think that it was like 3 or 4 participants that came in for that one, and they just had their assigned, classes.
Yep.
Basically, it's 2 days of just each class was a different workout.
Hmm.
And he was like, it's not the worst thing in the world. He was
Hmm.
like, but it can kind of take away from like what you're trying to do because I know Sam programs kind of in a way it's like not exactly how Ham Plan used to, but like similar in the sense like there's like a bias or a focus for a certain period of time.
Makes
Because like
sense.
Ham Plan would have like each month was like a certain, you'd focus a little bit more on squatting one month, and then another one was like gymnastics pulling, and then like the other one was a little more monostructural stuff. So they're just like kind of it's balanced, but just a slight bias of like, hey, we're gonna make sure that on 2 days per week we're
Sure.
tackling whatever the focus is to kind of like just move the needle on that. So
Absolutely.
he does something similar, not exactly the same way, but he described kind of his programming direction and doing kind of that, and that screws up, messes with that a little bit for those 2 days because you're like
100%.
your athletes come into class, and it's like I don't even know what you're doing. Like you're gonna show up and
Yeah.
you know,
It's
and so there is that. But I know that he said that Denise was trying to convince him, like Sam, to take
oh,
it to
wow.
do it. And he wasn't even convinced. He was
Yeah.
like, I like what like okay, cool. Like I go take the level 4.
Right.
Let's say I pass.
Right.
Sweet. What
Then
does
what?
that do? What does that do for me? What does that do for my
Yeah.
members? And it was the same thing for the level 3. I remember when
It's the
talking
same thing
to
for all of
James.
them.
Well, it's so kind of. I think that if you like, once you get your level 1, I'll
Yeah.
always defend the level 1 course. I think like anyone, whether you're interested in coaching or not, I think worthwhile information to have if you're interested and invested in your CrossFit journey. I think
Yep.
it's a worthwhile course to take. Is it necessary? No,
No.
but like it is if you want to start coaching. But like just as a whole for people, is the level 1 a necessary course?
Yeah.
No, but it's amazing information. You will have absolute blasty blast during that weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll learn a ton, meet some cool people, all that jazz. I
Okay.
think the level 2, very much worth it as a coach because it is just a hyper focus on here's how you coach, here's how you teach, see, and correct. And like the level 2 freaking put me in a whole different direction as a coach. I thought I was
Yeah.
king hot shit because I had a bachelor's in exercise science and I know what the word torque means. And like that wasn't the case. I went and took my level 1 and like I was teaching movement and Austin stopped me. He was like, stop what you're
Yeah.
doing. And so I think the level 2 is important for that. I think you can get a similar hold on. Because I
Not
see the
saying
gears
anything.
turning in your head. I know
Yeah.
the gears are turning. Let me finish my thingy. So
Uh-huh.
I think it's an important course and incredible information. Not that you can't get that information from a good mentor, from a
Hmm.
good like coach and development or something like if you have a high level coach at
Hmm.
your gym that you can learn from,
Hmm.
then I think you can get that information and that learning and that whatever from that person. But a lot of gyms don't have that.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go and progress as a coach and you don't have someone like a Denise, a James, a Lachlan, a Connor, a Spencer, and all the people that a Greg that we had at
Hmm.
One Nation, like if you don't have that at your gym, the level 2 is almost necessary to go and become better.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think in that realm, like the level 2 effectively makes you a better coach. It can if you go in and you're like you're I'm here to learn and you know you actually take it seriously. I think the level 2 course can make you a better coach. I can't I can't guarantee it will, but it can. The distinction there is like when I went for my level 3 or when I was preparing for my level 3, passing that exam did not magically make me a better coach. It wasn't like as soon as I passed the exam, I leveled up in my ability to coach my
Yeah.
members.
Yeah.
what made me better was the ruthless preparation that
Hmm.
I went through to make that happen. I did every day for, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, whenever I booked my exam thing in advance. Every day for that 6 to 8 months, I had Lachlan and or James
Yep.
observe one of my classes and give me feedback. And I spent so much time with me and Lachlan and a PVC pipe and just me teaching him movements and going over stuff. And let's hop over to the whiteboard and break down like the whatever from the level one, whether it
Right.
be like common movement themes or, the movement progressions and teaching points for each one, and,
Hmm.
points of performance, and you gotta like just break down. So I went through, and every single day I also read at least one article from the CrossFit Journal. Um, RIP CrossFit Journal. Um, and so like for 8 months I did that every day. I did coaching development with one or two seminar staff members and read CrossFit Journal articles.
Yep.
And through that 8 month process is what made me an infinitely better coach.
Sure.
Because then I took what I was doing from learning, like put it into practice. It made passing the exam easier for sure. But like
Hmm.
passing that exam did not make me a better coach. That makes sense.
It does. And I have
Same
many
as,
thoughts.
same as passing the level 4 will not make you a better coach. You have to already be that level coach to get the
Right.
level 4. So
So I think the distinction that needs to be made here is the provision of education versus the testing or assessment.
mhm,
So a level one and level two provide you with education.
yes.
Um, I agree. I think the CrossFit level one is a wonderful experience. I think that for people who don't have regular access to very high level coaches, and I'm gonna say something that might be a little ballsy. Um,
Go ahead. I support it.
unless you, this is a broad statement, unless you know someone personally who is on seminar staff, the likelihood that you understand what high level coaching or training looks like is very little.
Hmm.
And I don't say that to knock people. I say that as a byproduct of the issue that we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And the thing that seminar staff did really well were being really good at just that thing, running, being really good at being ruthless in their pursuit of getting better and running classes and knowing CrossFit and all that stuff.
I don't, this could also be a hot take, but like I don't even know if seminar staff members had like for some of them, okay, and this can
Mm,
be a broad statement, I'm saying something really
sure.
controversial. I don't know if seminar staff members are masters at running classes or masters at running seminars.
Ha! Great,
because
great
because
point.
that's different.
Yeah,
It's different. It's
it is
so
different.
when you're like running a seminar, and this is not to poo-poo on any seminar staff members, because if you have a red shirt, you're a human weapon of
For
understanding
sure.
cross methodology and
For
presenting it and
sure.
coaching, and like your eye is incredible when it comes to seeing and correcting and
Absolutely.
teaching movement.
Yep.
But having a class of, let's just keep the number 15, so 15 of your members
Mhm.
in class, and Bill's got something going on with his right knee, so you already know how to modify him and like what
Yep.
he's going to be rocking and rolling today for thrusters, and you know that Annie just had surgery on her elbow and she's kind of working back into it, so here's how you got to modify her pull-ups, and you know
Hmm.
knowing those things, and but also like when you know your members and you have access to them, especially if you're a full-time coach, you have access to them,
Yeah.
5 days a week, like you see them every time they're in the gym working out.
Yep.
It almost gives you a little more freedom to do some more like kind of niche things, and like let's play around with this for a sec, and I know what you guys have done for the past 2 weeks for progression, so let's just change this up and be a little funky here,
For sure. For sure.
and
For sure.
like, but but then like running the squat series in a level 1 seminar is not the same as coaching or teaching a movement in a class to your members.
Right.
So there is a slight distinction there. Again, not that a seminar staff member can't coach an amazing class.
For
I
sure.
think it's two different types of mastery there.
I I agree entirely. And to reinforce this, this is not just a thing that we think. I have been told explicitly by Denise, the level one seminar is a contrived scenario in terms of the presentation of information. I remember her saying once, we have had people come in who were phenomenal coaches, phenomenal trainers. They could run a great class. It's very clear they knew what they were doing, but they
Mhm.
couldn't modify the way they were providing that knowledge to fit the paradigm that they have on the level one. And because of that, they were not suitable for staff,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you're right. Is my
There's a
cat,
distinction.
there is a distinction. My cat is meowing someplace. She can get himself behind something. Oh, no, he's fine. We're good. Um, so there's absolutely a distinction. So anyway, so seminar staff doesn't make you the be all and end all of trainers, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And
Right.
as the exposure to seminar staff members does show you how much further and farther things can go.
Hmm.
It's not necessary, but it certainly does help. And I remember having a discussion with some people at CrossFit once and saying, this is before they did a professional mentorship program.
Hmm.
Um, my point was, if you take the average person, then their exposure to any seminar staff member and or that similar level of quality is likely a total of 32 hours in 10 years
Yep.
because they take their level one and then they
Wait
might
5 years.
wait 5 years till it's over,
Hmm.
re-up, and then again, wait 5 years, and then maybe they take their level two,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But in a 10-year window, it's not unreasonable to imagine that it would be limited to 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And
Or like I've seen people do this where like take your level one, your level one's about to expire, so may as well take my level two.
that too,
But
whatever.
same thing. It's 2 weekends over the course of 10 years
Yeah,
exposure to that.
yeah. And so that's and so if that is the limit of your exposure to high level coaching, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
The the level three as an exam, you're right. It's not going to make you a better coach. And I would argue that your preparation didn't actually prepare you for the exam. You
No.
were simultaneously running a parallel track of preparing yourself to apply for seminar staff as well.
Yes.
And all of the things that you talked about, the, you know, time spent with Lachlan and him in a PVC pipe and run him through things and let's break down this thing and points of performance and like, sure, those are things, but like the provision of that information in real time, that's for seminar staff that cannot be tested and is not tested for in level three. Whereas I would argue your background in exercise science did more to help prepare you for your level three. There are certainly some things that are niche to CrossFit, i.e., the zone diet,
Yeah.
i.e., you know, CrossFit's recommendations for hydration, things like that. But general anatomy and physiology, general nutrition,
Mm.
general um, exercise science, strength and conditioning, you had a better background coming into that with your degree than most people do, obviously. And
Yeah, that's fair.
I would be interested, I have my own guesses, but I would be interested to see the breakdown between US and Europe, the percentage of people who successfully take the level three the first time. Because to be a trainer in Europe, you essentially don't get licensed unless you have at least the equivalent of a bachelor's degree, is my understanding. And so I think it's different country to country, but like
Mm.
I know a bunch of the people who are on TGC staff, they couldn't be trainers in the UK. I'm pretty sure, as an example, you cannot be a trainer unless you go to a school and you've got at least a bachelor's equivalent in sports science or whatever it is. Um, which means
Yeah.
what we consider, and I think this is a broad but realistic statement, the level 3 is considered a high water mark in
Hmm.
coaching education in the CrossFit community, right?
Hmm.
If we take the level 3 for what it is, which is a final exam, the
Yeah.
culmination of which, the culmination of many years of learning and study and knowledge gathering, it's
Yeah.
essentially what we call the high water mark is the starting point for people in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
So I
Good on
think
them though.
that I think that we can be clear about the value or not that some things provide. I think the real question is, um, and you hit it right on the head, the level 3 doesn't impart any knowledge. I'm going to
Hmm.
go a step further. It also doesn't impart any value. It doesn't change what you're able to provide to
Nope.
people.
Nope.
It is just a piece of paper. It's
Letters
an
after your
acronym,
name.
letters after your name. And so
Yep.
the hard part that so many of us experience, and I had this conversation with Sam and Erica this weekend, is like
Yeah.
in the coaching community, we don't have a better proxy for success other than credentials.
Yeah.
We don't have a way to benchmark ourselves against each other
Hmm.
in terms of ability other than credentials. And so the
Yeah.
credentials become the delineating factor. Well, he's got his level 3. She's got a level 4, And
Yeah.
the problem with that is that I think creates an expectation on
Hmm.
us trainers in the community that when we complete this thing, when we achieve this check mark, these letters, I have all of a sudden been transformed because I have been ordained,
Yeah.
and now I'm more valuable. And and every coach has the same experience. I said this to Erica, and she lost her shit. She's like just cackling at dinner. She's like,
Yeah.
we get our level 3 and we turn around and we go to our owner, our gym owner, and we say, pay me more money. And the gym owner
Yeah.
looks at you and says, what fucking money?
Yeah.
Right? And it's and then at that point, it all comes crashing down for every fucking coach because they're like,
Yep. I
fuck,
went and did the thing. I went and did what I was supposed to do. I went and
isn't
did the
this the
thing.
thing that matters? Nope. Turns out it
Is
doesn't
yeah,
matter at
nope.
all.
No, it doesn't. Um, depending on the gym owner, neither does how good of a coach you are either, but neither here nor there. Uh, um, yeah, it's well, because then I like, because I'm thinking to myself, like, when it comes to the renewing or not of my level 3, I'm like, okay, like, so I have all this knowledge and understanding of the CrossFit methodology and understanding of human anatomy and physiology and understanding of all these things and programming and coaching and all this fun stuff. And in what month are we in? April. In 2 months, let's say in 2 months, my level 3 vanishes.
Okay.
I still can do what I can do. I still know what I know.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I don't know. But it's like nothing changed. If you were to
Exactly one
like the
thing
level
changes.
that I have less letters after my name.
Yes. But okay, let me phrase it this way. Exactly one thing meaningful changes.
What's that?
You can't use the word CrossFit.
Uh, yeah.
It's branding and marketing.
So I can't use CrossFit for like if I'm to coach someone. I can't be like I'm coaching your CrossFit. I can say I do CrossFit.
You can say you yourself train CrossFit, but you can't
Yeah,
call what
me.
you do with another client as a professional CrossFit.
Right, but if I'm not coaching, then who gives a shit? It
I understand. And like, so
No, I
the
know.
meaningful thing might not matter because overall your life direction has changed. But that's the sole functional difference, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. No, yes. So if I were to like, have clients like, to come train people in my garage, I can't
Yeah.
be like, I'm training you that like CrossFit is how I'm training you. I
Yeah.
get that. More what I meant is like if you were to take the level 3 away, like in
Yep.
terms of just the credential, and then plop me in an affiliate and have me coach a class, it's not like all of a sudden I can't do anything. I don't know what a wall ball is anymore, and like below parallel, I've never seen it. Um,
Sure.
like it's not like all that just goes away. Obviously, I'm not able to, like, if I don't have a CrossFit credential, I cannot coach in an affiliate
Mm-hmm.
legally, allegedly. Um,
Really. Well, and that's another thing we can talk about, but go ahead.
well, so that could be a whole nother topic. Um, but it like all the knowledge I've garnered hasn't gone away, and I'll still like one of the best strength and conditioning coaches that I've ever met. One of the smartest guys. I met him up in Waterville, Maine. His name's Linnell. I think he lives in Texas now.
Cool.
But he just popped into KV CrossFit while I was there, like just to learn. He didn't have a bachelor's degree in exercise science. He didn't have a degree in anything AMP, but he was the strength and conditioning coach, or one of the strength and conditioning coaches for Colby College. Um, and he got there, I think, just because someone had the wherewithal to like just sit down and talk with him.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's a thing. It's like I don't have all the credentials, but if you sit down and have a conversation with me,
Yep.
we can talk about what I know and don't know and what I can bring
Absolutely.
and all this stuff. And so the thing that made him like so good and so smart was he just went and experienced stuff. So rather than like paying money for a degree, he went and he found people to intern with. It's like he interned
Mm-hmm.
with Mike Boyle. He interned with um was it like the Preezy Speed School? Like he went and interned with all these places to learn how to do all these things. And he's interned with some, amazing names in the
Yeah.
strength and conditioning space. Um, he went in with Mike Cressy, and like so that's what gave, and he just wants to learn stuff. So he'd go
Yep.
take a seminar, he'd go take a course, he buy a textbook and read it himself rather than like
Mm-hmm.
pay for college. And so like while he was with us at KV CrossFit, he was essentially like if anyone wanted like any specific work, he would like for strength stuff or mobility, he was working on like trying to help people be more mobile and whatnot. So
Mm.
like he would test stuff out on me. We were in the gym all the time. So he'd be like, "Hey, Kev, can I just try something on you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And
Yep.
so he's like, "You try different stuff. Does it work? Does it not work?"
Right.
Um, and so through all that, he was like, I was like, "Man, how like you never went to school for anatomy and physiology? Like, how did you learn so much about anatomy and physiology?" He's like, "Well, that sounded too weird, just like touching people." He was like, "Have people do stuff and like, can I poke in your hamstring and see what happens when this happens?" Like, you know. So
Mm.
one of the smartest strength and conditioning coaches I've ever met and worked with. Just incredibly open-minded dude,
Yeah.
willing to try anything. If it was similar to the CrossFit thing, if we learned that doing backflips on rollerblades is
Yeah.
going to make us fitter, like we'll do it. Like similar sort of approach. Willing to try anything and see if it works. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, then leave it aside and try the next thing. But like you don't need it. Like I don't know.
I
But you come back to like the credentials, like can sometimes like help get your foot in the door type thing.
absolutely they can. I think that your guy is the exception that proves the rule in the sense that
Yeah.
something that could be a problem in the CrossFit community is we get wedded to the identity of CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the information, and so the problem with level three is not that it's a bad test. The problem with the level three is the expectation I create around achieving it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, had I gone into that period of time in a more awakened state, and had I realized that a test is just a test and it can't bestow bullshit on me, it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been quite so jarring. And I think your guy sounds like he's the guy who is not wedded to anything, he's wedded to what works. And
Mm-hmm.
his experimental nature allows him to go in with no preconceived notions and be a sponge and take what works and leave what doesn't and figure that out
Mm-hmm.
through trial and error, which takes a lot of time and attention and investment and you know, because he's willing to invest in those things for himself, it's specifically time, attention, and investment, because he's willing to make that a thing that he does, the likelihood that his chances of success, the likelihood of his chances of success jump considerably, because those are the leading indicators. Like it could be said that it is a foregone conclusion that you will be successful if you do those things. I think that within CrossFit, and coming back to now, like, could you practice CrossFit or not? We're at a very interesting juncture, because there was a time when CrossFit would IP the shit out of anybody who used the CrossFit
Yep.
name. Greg was famous for it,
Oh, ruthless.
ruthless.
Ruthless
And
about it.
and now, 5, 6 years later, the organization very obviously doesn't have that capability, because they made some. So, quick recap: Greg
They
sold.
went and fired everybody.
Well, there's that too. So, like I'm going in order. Like, Greg sold
Oh,
CrossFit to Berkshire
yeah.
Partners.
Yep.
Berkshire Partners has now made an investment and wants to recoup. And so their
Yes.
immediate turnaround is, how do we recoup multiple millions of dollars that we've just spent, right? So they have to make
Yep.
the business cash positive. But prior to that, Greg's like, I don't give a fuck. I'll burn everything down in order to go to toe to toe with soda companies. Like,
Yeah.
that's the power of a single man with a mission. And like, that's why
Yeah.
prior to his departure, we didn't have a media team. It's because he's like, this isn't important anymore. I don't give a fuck. And like,
Yeah.
the part of the reason why a lot of people are pissed at him is because they love the games, they love the coverage, they love Sean Woodland. And then he's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And so he just lights it on fire, you know.
Yeah. Did not
But
give a single shit. If it didn't
didn't.
support his mission, it like to
Absolutely.
hell with it.
Absolutely. And so then
Like
after Berkshire comes in, they buy Ham. They buy, what was the other big thing they bought? They bought Ham, and then they spent a shit ton of
uh
money on something else. I can't remember what.
um I've like I know what you're talking about, but I
Yeah.
can't for the life of me.
Anyway, the point is they had a shit ton of money going out the door very, very quickly in the beginning, with the goal of creating a product that they could then turn around and sell. And it doesn't take a lot reading between the lines to understand that that didn't go over well. They, because they, you know, cap was an additional charge, and then now all of a sudden it's free. And um, some of the other programs they talked about were just, they were there, and then very quietly they weren't, right? You know, the global coach mentorship program, I don't think that's a thing anymore, you know. And
Oh man. Yeah,
all of these things were
maybe.
initiatives to try to drive revenue. And
Yeah.
now we're at a point where CrossFit is running at a skeleton of its previous size.
I think it's just
That
James. It's just James fighting for his life in there. Like,
it,
I
I
asked
don't
him what he did. I tell you about this. I asked him what he
know.
did the other day because I was like, because Cap is still doing whatever he's doing, but like it's not just like the three jabronis anymore, dude. So like I
Mm,
asked James, I was like, James, what even is your role in CrossFit? And he
yeah.
goes, I don't fucking know. He's like, I could just be a janitor. I don't know. Like I it's just a catch all.
Well, and
Uh,
that's a classic sign of an organization in disarray, is when you've got
mm,
multiple people in multiple different roles being asked to fulfill multiple roles. You know,
yeah,
where traditionally they were a single person doing a single thing, it's now they've got the key responsibilities of maybe three individuals.
yeah.
And so we've got an organization that functionally cannot operate the way it used to. And if we need any more clear communication that that is the case, we're hosting the fucking CrossFit Games in Albany, New York this year. So
Nah.
take from that what you will. But people will be like, I don't know, what's the big deal? If you've ever been to Albany, New York, you know exactly why that's a fucking joke,
Yeah, you know why that's stupid.
right?
It's because it's at the same spot that regionals used to be, isn't it? It's the
Yes.
same stadium that regionals. Well, okay, cool. So you do like so when it comes to the game, we're like massive tangent real quick, but like where do you do your outdoors events? Like what
You don't do
like
them, and you shorten it to 3 days.
stupid.
Well, and so now
It's okay.
we get to a bigger issue of like, what is this organization capable of sustaining? And like, I'm gonna say some things out loud.
Sure.
This is an organization in disarray.
Yes.
Is it worth me associating my name with that brand through the practice of paying them to re-up my credential? Is it worth me worrying at all about, once I'm a non-credentialed coach or trainer, the use of the term CrossFit? Because CrossFit LLC has not effectively pursued litigation and IP, and therefore the term has become genericized. And if you want an example of that, Pilates is a great example.
Yep.
Pilates used to be a brand, and they didn't protect the IP, and they lost the rights to the name Pilates. And now anybody can do any kind of Pilates and call themselves a Pilates instructor. Um,
Yes.
and I think we're rapidly approaching that
I think we're
window.
getting there. We're
Yeah.
getting, but is that the worst thing though? Like it's so because here's the other question, right? So like you
Yeah.
have so like if CrossFit loses the IP and
Yeah.
anyone anywhere can say we do CrossFit,
Right. And, and
High Rocks
real
becomes a
quick,
CrossFit comp. Like yeah,
to a certain extent, that has always been the case because the methodology and everything has always been free on the internet since the beginning of time. So it's not like
yeah,
all of a sudden the floodgates would open. Like it's all
no,
fucking there right
it's
now.
yeah, it wouldn't be a mat like whatever. Um, so let's say like they lose the IP, people can say they coach whatever, do whatever,
Mhm.
present whatever, whatever. Like CrossFit HQ, that doesn't mean that HQ needs to fold or that like CrossFit HQ is just like obliterated and wiped off the face of the planet
Sure.
because you can still like they just become the education and sport side of things. Like rather than like the whole IP thing and
Yeah.
people like being an affiliate or not, like, hey, you have a gym that does CrossFit or you have a gym that does functional fitness, whatever
Yeah.
like that now calls it CrossFit because they can.
Hmm.
You want to learn to coach better? This is what we do. You can still have your education courses. You want to compete in the sport of CrossFit? I think that's an easier like IP to protect. Is like this is the sport of CrossFit because High Rocks is not the same thing, and
No,
what World Fitness Project isn't really the same thing.
I would say the closest thing, arguably solely from a judging standards perspective, is the IFFF in Europe,
Okay.
International Functional Fitness
Yep.
Federation.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
they are, this is my opinion, they
Mhm.
are the only people who have the prerequisites for doing the thing on the large scale
Yeah.
and making it successful.
Yeah. So like I don't know, they lose the IP. Is that the worst thing in the world? I don't know. I mean, we're starting to get there, I think, but
I think so.
and I don't know. Like that's I think the next 5 years
Mm.
for CrossFit holds holds a lot of change and a lot of moving targets. And as the community, we're just along for the ride. I mean, there are people in the community, and like, you have someone like I'll use Hiller as an example.
Mhm.
And he's not the only one, but I just use him as an example because most people know who he is. Like, you'll have people like that like won't defend CrossFit HQ
Yep.
because they're being a bunch of fuck knuckles, but they'll laugh feet under and maybe even beyond that. He will
Yep.
defend CrossFit, the methodology, and what it can do, and the power that it has over human health and wellness and fitness. That doesn't mean he has to like brown nose HQ and everything they do.
Yep.
There's a lot of people like that in the space.
Yep.
I'd consider myself like I'm not gonna say that everything CrossFit HQ does is perfect because it's not. Like it's they're
Sure.
they're not beyond critique, but like I will adamantly defend CrossFit the methodology
Hmm.
and what that can do. And
Hmm.
I will always do it myself until
Yep.
until I die. Like I will
Yep.
always be doing CrossFit. And so I don't know, what does that mean for HQ? The fact that people are no longer really tied to HQ, but more so the
Hmm.
methodology. What does that do for HQ? I don't know. I think if you use that properly and rather than trying to continue to grasp at like we need to keep control of everything, we need to keep control of everybody, like the whole
Right.
thing, rather than trying to grasp at that, if you can take the fact that people might not like defend HQ, but they'll defend the methodology, like there's got to be a way that you can use that
Right.
to continue to make what HQ does worth something, that like, and again, I think that comes down to the education component because, okay, like people will defend the methodology. Here's how we educate the methodology, and whether that's a restructuring of education and how they do that, or I don't know. And then also the sport, because as of right now, like CrossFit, like if you are the main company for the methodology, like you have the rights to test fitness.
Yep.
Like there are other fitness competitions out there that exist. I mean, I don't think that's lost on anybody.
Hmm.
But in my mind, like the CrossFit Games is the test of fitness. It's not just a fitness competition, it's the test of fitness. You can go compete at Wadapalooza, you can go compete at the Granite Games and
Sure.
compete in 7 bajillion high rocks races. And that's a whole nother thing. But it's like you can go do whatever you want. Go compete in fitness,
Yep.
love it. And it might look different each competition. But if you want to test your fitness, that's
Hmm.
the CrossFit Games. Like the CrossFit Games is the test of fitness. Um, so like I don't know. Like I think HQ can still have a worthwhile place in the space, managing those things really well if they can get their shit together. I don't know. I'm just saying words.
I think you've
Hopefully it sounds that's coherent and makes sense, but
yeah. I think you've come to a good place in terms of rounding out the
yeah.
whole thing. I think really it's on HQ right now. Like
Mhm.
it's all in your
Well,
hands. You can
they're up for sale right now.
yeah, there's that too.
So there's
Um
that too.
yeah. So it is in HQ's hands as to how effective or ineffective they want to be and what role they want to play and ultimately the how do I want to say this? Like if they want to make the sport their focus, they want to hang their hat on the words CrossFit Games, that tells me a lot about the view that that brand takes of the value of the methodology.
Mhm.
And I say that with no judgment. Um,
Mhm.
and at that point, me personally, I would feel no more beholden to them than I would Nike or than I would Reebok, right?
Yeah.
It's you have a
Yeah.
brand, you have a vested interest in pursuing your brand. You don't have a mission anymore. You have a
Yeah.
mission to make a lot of money, which, hats
Yeah.
off to you. You want 30 million
Yeah.
CrossFitters. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But you don't want 30 million CrossFitters because, it's not
You
the
don't want
Greg
30
Glass,
million CrossFitters because it saves lives. You want 30
right.
million CrossFitters because that's a big ass paycheck.
Greg Glassman once said, the day we are vindicated, the day you get your newspaper and it said Glassman CrossFit right, everybody else wrong, is the day we're all out of a job,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a guy
Yeah.
who understood his role in service of a mission.
Hmm.
I don't see anything like that currently.
No, because I don't think for PE it's not a mission to them. It's money. They saw a company that was doing very well at the time prior to
At the time.
Greg's Twitter faux pas. Um, like they were doing well, and even though they got rid of media of the sport, like
Hmm.
I still think it was still chugging along pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and they saw an opportunity when Greg had his infamous tweet. They saw an opportunity to take over a company that was doing very well and hopefully just like essentially what this is just my guess. They're like, we're going to take it over and it's doing really well, and we're just going to milk it for everything it has over the 3 to 5 years and then sell it and move on, because that's what private equity does generally. So for
Yep.
them, it wasn't a mission. It never was. It wasn't ever going to be. No
Couldn't
one that
be.
was there. There might be people involved in CrossFit that care. Like I know
Yep.
James cares a whole lot.
Yep.
And it's a mission for him.
Yeah.
He's not at the steering wheel.
Yeah.
You know,
He's along for the ride like everybody else.
he's not even like in the back seat. He's fucking tied up, locked in the trunk. Like it's he's just along for the ride, as most of us. But like the people that it's important to is the people that are out there doing it. You know, the people that are coaching, the people that own affiliates and are trying to make a change in these people's lives, and whether or not the sport is a part of that or not for each gym or each affiliate is like to each their own. But like that's who the mission's important to. It's not important
Yeah.
to private equity. I don't think it's ever going to be a mission again unless the person who buys it like was already on that mission. Like if someone buys CrossFit
What's
and
this
they're
fuck
not
from
already
CrossFit
like,
Affiliate Collective?
huh?
So what's this fuck from the Affiliate Collective?
Frank.
Frank. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. So the thing is like so for Frank and like I've had some conversations with him in Instagram, which is good, like
Yeah.
kind of in like interesting and funny. Um and just like, you know, no disrespect to anybody, because like I cannot deny his passion. Homie is
Oh,
passionate
sure.
about the affiliates collectively buying CrossFit. What that looks like, he doesn't even have a fucking clue, because I've asked him. Like what? Like okay, cool. You get 10,000 affiliates to collectively put in money and get a loan and buy CrossFit. Now what?
Right.
And it just kind of like just danced around the, oh well, we'd make it great for affiliates again. How?
Right.
Well, we'd have a board of directors that would make decisions. How? Like
Right.
like like you're cool. You're like board of directors and make things great for affiliates again, and like make it so CrossFit's about the mission again. I love the passion. I
Hmm.
support it. I don't think you have a clear picture roadmap of like once that happens, how do you then do that and get there? But he's a passionate dude, like no doubt.
Super.
So, but it's like that's what it would take though. It would take someone like Frank buying CrossFit and being in the driver's seat where like he is about the mission.
Yeah.
It would take someone like that being in the driver's seat again for HQ to be about the mission and not the money again.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't know if anyone who cares about the mission has the money to do that. Like has
Yeah.
the money to
There's
buy
that.
CrossFit. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Rich, maybe. Rich has a fucking empire. So like if Rich wanted to go and buy CrossFit, I'm sure he could do something. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. Will they ever be about the mission? We'll find out. Um,
Yeah.
if not, is that even the worst thing? As long as gyms and affiliates can keep trying to, and maybe even affiliates not the right word if HQ makes a move that way.
Right.
I don't know. Um, like if they lose the IP, then like what's the point of affiliating? I can still be a gym and say we do CrossFit. I'm still CrossFit Mayhem. I'm just using it as an example, but like
Yeah.
still CrossFit Mayhem because we do CrossFit. Like CrossFit's the methodology we do at this gym, but then you don't have to pay anybody.
Yep.
So, I don't know. So is it the worst thing in the world? I don't know. We'll find out. I think the next 5 years holds a lot of change and a lot of for HQ, for the sport probably, because they can't
Yeah.
seem to figure the fuck out what they want to do with the sport.
For sure. Well, and I think that's as good a way as any to put a bow on this topic for
Mm,
today. Obviously, no resolutions, a bunch of dudes sitting on our duff talking into a computer screen. Um,
yep. Still
but
didn't decide if I'm going to re up my level 3. But
yeah, right. Like, so haven't solved that problem.
we
I
still
maybe
didn't
have
come to
more,
that conclusion.
maybe have some more questions
Uh,
that I don't have answers to. Um,
yeah.
so good luck solving that problem. Hats off to
Uh-huh.
you. And
Yeah.
And hopefully this was interesting, a little interesting peek behind the curtain for anyone who wonders about either CrossFit private equity or how coaches are certified and kind of the bullshit that we put ourselves through, um, because it's all our own fault.
Yeah,
All right.
all our own fault.
Well, until next time, my friend, I hope you feel well. I hope you avoid any plagues from your little one.
Yeah, it's not only just my little one, but like that's, I mean, working on an ambulance is not always the like just like in and all these hospitals and around all these patients, they're coughing all over the place. Um, it's fun.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
It's fun. Yeah.
All right. Take it easy, everybody. We'll catch you all later.